Hello, welcome back to the Sunday Serving channel, words of hope and truth from the gospel. It's getting a little chillier as we get into December here, but it's good to be outdoors. So today is the second Sunday of Advent, and Advent of course is the time where we think about the coming of Jesus, how Jesus came to earth and waiting and watching for him to come again. And I thought for today a good topic to look at from the Bible would be angels. You know, angels, those beautiful, powerful, spiritual beings that are often mentioned in the Bible. And what really are angels? We know that God created them. He created the heavens and the earth. We know that there are thousands and thousands of them. They're often mentioned in the Bible. They often are messengers, God's messengers to us. And they've appeared to people, the prophets of old, with special messages from God. And they also worship and glorify God. In Revelations, it talks a lot about the angels and the hosts of angels worshiping and praising God. And they do God's work, both in the spiritual realms and here on earth, protecting and guiding us, often without us knowing it. There's a lot about angels in the Psalms, a beautiful verse from Psalm 91, where it says, "He will give the angels charge of you to guard you in all your ways. On their hands they will bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone." So we all know the idea of guardian angels taking care of us, guarding us, protecting us. And thinking of Advent, there's a beautiful and powerful story in the Bible about a messenger angel coming to Zechariah, who was a priest. And this angel came and told Zechariah that he and his wife Elizabeth would soon have a son. He even told him what he should call that son, John, which means in Greek, God is gracious. And he told of the special task that John would have to prepare the way for the Lord. So that's really an Advent message. John was a messenger, John was a prophet sent to this earth, and this angel was sent to Zechariah, his father, to tell him about this message, about John's life. And of course, we read that Elizabeth and Zechariah didn't have children. They longed and prayed for children for many years. And he was performing his priestly duty, a very special calling he had to light the incense at the altar when this angel appeared to him. So let's read that passage about the angel from Luke chapter 1, verses 11 through 20. It says, "Then an angel of the Lord appeared to him, standing at the right side of the altar of incense. When Zechariah saw him, he was startled and was gripped with fear." And that's a common reaction when we see something unusual or glorious or magnificent. We're scared. We're full of fear. We have anxiety. We wonder what's going to happen to us. And it's interesting, in the Bible, whenever this happens, the angel's message is always the same. It's fear not. And here the angel spoke to Zechariah. He said, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah. Your prayer has been heard." So his first words were to allay that fear and to tell Zechariah that his prayer had been heard. "Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you are to give him the name John." That means God is gracious. "He will be a joy and delight to you, and many will rejoice because of his birth. For he will be great in the sight of the Lord. He is never to take wine or other fermented drink, and he will be filled with the Holy Spirit, even from his birth. Many of the people of Israel will he bring back to the Lord their God. And he will go before the Lord in the spirit and power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the fathers to their children, and the disobedience to the wisdom of the righteous, to make ready and prepare for the Lord." To make ready a people prepared for the Lord. That's amazing words of the angel. The purpose of John's coming, it's all very positive and wonderful. It talks about good news, about rejoicing, about many will rejoice, about John will be great in the sight of the Lord, even from birth, and about how he'll be filled with the Holy Spirit. It compares him to the prophets of old. In specific, it compares him to the prophet Elijah. And it's also wonderful how it talks about John turning the hearts of the children back to their parents, the hearts of the sinners or the hard-hearted ones, to make them soft again. Some wonderful words. You know, the angel, we know the story of John. He lived a hard life. He was out in the desert. He ate grasshoppers and beetles and wore goat skin, and then he was persecuted. In fact, Herod ended up beheading him, executing him. So the angel could have told him that story. You know, your son's going to have a hard life and be persecuted, and you know, he's going to have to speak out the truth, and then he's going to die. But the angel didn't say that. He said the wonderful part, and that God's purpose is always wonderful, even if we have to suffer. God's purpose of the good news, the way of the Lord to be prepared by John was much more important and wonderful than what he had to suffer. But let's go on here, what happened in this story. Zechariah asked the angel, "How can I be sure of this? I'm an old man, and my wife is well along in years." So Zechariah must have been surprised. You wonder, he could have just said, "Wow, you know, thank you, that's amazing." But no, he questioned the angel. I guess that's a pretty humanly understandable response when we hear something incredible to say, is that really true? And we shouldn't question God or the angel, but it's interesting what the angel's response to Zechariah was. The angel answered him, "I am Gabriel." And so he tells his own name. I am Gabriel. In fact, there's only two angels that are named in the Bible as we know it. That's Gabriel and Michael, both very powerful angels. He said, "I am Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God, and I have been sent to speak to you and tell you this good news." Again, this good news. "And now you will be silent and not able to speak until the day this happens, because you did not believe my words, which will come true at their proper time." So the angel did chastise Zechariah and doled out a punishment to him. He wasn't able to speak for 9 months, but God's will still happened. He didn't stop. He didn't change. God didn't change his plan of goodwill to Zechariah and Elizabeth, but he told him, "You better believe." And so the message of the angel, joy, the good news, the confidence he brought, the truth, and speaking of God's plan for the coming of Jesus and how John's task was to prepare the way of the Lord. And what is God's plan for the return of the Lord? That is a good question to think of in this Advent time. And so part of living in Advent, or living in the spirit of expectation for Jesus, is watching for God's messengers, the angels. Look for those messengers, and if you see them, listen and believe their good news of hope and joy for all people. God bless you. Thank you for watching.